Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of FaB, and this is a real special one. I'm joined by four of my friends here, and we're here because we're going to celebrate George's 80th birthday. What would have been George's 80th birthday, and well, first let's introduce everybody. The order in which I'm seeing everybody. First, he has a YouTube channel by his name, and it's called Matthew Turnage. Welcome back, Matt.
Hey Joe, thanks for having me.
All right, you got it. And of course, our friend from across the pond. He has the channel Beatly Tones, Beatles, what is something like that? Beatly Tone. Tell what is it again?
Beatly Tones Beatles channel.
I said it. See, Beatles
Yeah.
Tones Beatles channel.
Right,
Yeah, now you think I would know by now,
Hi everyone, and hi everyone out there, if there is anyone out there.
Oh yeah, there's people out there. Make sure you hit your comments. And of course we have. I don't like to keep. I feel like sometimes, Kit, we people really like lay it on thick. The Queen, the Queen. I don't know. It's a little embarrassing. I
Okay.
think for you sometimes. Oh, you don't mind it?
not.
Okay. Well, in that case, here she is,
That's all right.
the Queen of all Beatles media, and she's got books out like Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours Through the Beatles Lesson on Tracks. The author of Michael Jackson FAQ, a project that she did with Ken Womack called Fandom and the Beatles. And I never remember to mention that you do another show, but I forget which one it is.
Toppermost of the poppermost.
Toppermost of the Poppermost.
Mhm.
And I'm talking about, as you know by now, Kit O'Toole. Welcome back, Kit.
Thank you, Joe. Always a pleasure. Hi, everybody, and hi, everybody out there.
Alrighty. And last but not least, I have one half. I always feel like we're shortchanged when it's either just one of the two. But one half of the Two Legs McCartney podcast. And he knows his Paul, that's for sure, among many other things. We're talking about Andy Nichols. Hello, Andy.
Hello, I might be the lesser leg, depending on who you ask.
Oh, I don't know. If you ask Tom, maybe you put you lesser. I don't know about that.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Joe, Matt, Tone, and
Good
Kit.
evening,
And,
You're
nice
the
to be
hind
on with
leg.
you all. The hind leg. The hind leg. Yeah,
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's pretty spontaneous and funny. We're gonna do this kind of like a free flowing thing. We have people that are here already that maybe can ask us questions or give topics relating to George. There's a bunch of people here, so hello to all of you. But before I start, gang, what about the date of George's birthday? Now, for me to start this, let me say one thing. I'm doing this at 9 p.m. Eastern, so in England, it's already the 26th.
It's the
Right.
21st.
First,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
is. It's-
so it's past already George's birthday, and of course we know that there was this bit about really George was born on the 24th, not the 25th. Uh, does anybody know anything about that? I was reading a little bit today about it, but something about for some reason during the wartime they were having blackouts. I just read that today, and so they set the clock
But
like
that's
ahead.
been something that's been in the last 10 or 15 years kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
it was post George's passing when that came out.
Right, I never heard of that while he was alive.
I've heard the story, but I can't remember what the theory is. But to me, it's always the 25th.
Right, or just George wanted to have taking the Mickey out of some of the the writers and stuff like that. Who knows,
Yeah, I suppose that I heard he was born a little before midnight or something on the 25th, but because the
Well.
clock was changed, it said the 25th.
the
Well,
youngest Beatle, by a lot. And I know it's hard to think now because we group them in the same age, but when you're that young, 2 or 3 years is such a big difference when you're a teenager, especially in a skiffle group.
Yeah, you look at some of those early photos when they were really young, and especially the difference between John and George. I mean, George looks like a little kid in some
Yeah.
of those
Yeah.
pictures.
Yes.
you
Yeah,
can
we-
understand why sometimes they thought like well, my kid brother or that kid or something. You could see when you look at the photos.
Well, he got deported from Hamburg, didn't he? Because he was
Because of his
underage.
age. Yeah.
And he looks it. You know, when you see those
Mm.
photos, you know, he looked really underage.
Look no older than like 12 years old or something, you know, and there he was 15 or 16, you know.
Yeah. Um, you know, it's interesting because as I was getting ready to do this, they gave the big news, right? That George's catalog's going to Dark Horse. That gives us something to talk about. So I thought I would go around. I mean, or just anybody. I don't want anybody to talk over each other. I feel like I got to moderate it, but I don't want one person to. If I ask one person first, they'll say everything. You know, spit out whatever you want. What do you think of this news, Kit? How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for the best because I mean, I know we've all talked about, I'm sure on our own channels, on other channels, that we've been frustrated over the years about, some of the. I mean, the all things must pass box set was great, but boy, we'd like to see more. I mean, how about early takes, volume 2? Anybody? And I'm hoping maybe we're going to see some, maybe the beginning of some more box sets, some more.
How about just some regular deluxe editions, and we don't need another $1,000 crate like that one. How about just
Thank
some
you.
regular
Yes.
box sets of a book of
Def-
about
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Definitely no Uber boxes. We don't need any Uber boxes.
Nah, one was enough
Right.
for me. One was enough. And those gnomes, man, those
Yeah.
gnomes.
I busted them out.
Damn no.
I busted them
Yeah.
out for tonight. I took them out for tonight's show.
Never,
Yeah,
never
thanks,
mind.
Andy.
Never mind the gnomes. I want to know
It's
what
just
you
for
both,
you, Kit.
Kit.
Yeah.
I want to know
Can't
what
see
you
'em.
both did with your beads. Where are your
Mhm.
beads?
Oh, man.
Probably still in the box.
Yeah,
I thought so.
yeah. I got a lot of stuff on top of that box. So,
Probably
But-
still in the
but-
box.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, that's the thing. Fine the huge, the wooden box, great. I don't care. I mean, I'm more interested in, there's got to be more in the archives that we haven't heard. I mean, we
Yeah.
know there is.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
let's get some more of that out.
yeah. I mean, that's what I read into. I think Danny's part of the message was the most exciting part of it. I think when he talked about releasing the finest of sets or something like that. To me, that screamed box sets of the albums. And then when he went on to say about a deeper dive into the archives, I'm thinking that it's going to I'm hoping that it's going to be box sets of the albums, like All Things Must Pass, with lots of extras, demos, outtakes, that sort of stuff, whatever's there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping he means.
Yeah, and beyond that, maybe I'm hoping that we'll see some sort of like official live album or film or some sort of document of the '74 U.S. tour as well. I think it's huge news because there's a lot of stuff I think that could be released, and you got to figure if BMG, surely they're shelling out some money for this, so they're going to want to get some product out to recoup it, not just reissue
Right.
the standard albums again.
Good point.
Yeah, and also I think there are potentially wider implications beyond George, because since this deal includes those albums from the Apple label, that means at some point George renegotiated his deal like Paul did back in the 70s to get the rights to those albums. So now I'm kind of wondering, has John's estate, gone through that process too? Could there come a point where they may be able to leave Universal and do something else? So yeah, that's the sort of thing I've been wondering about as well.
See, the Harrison campaign and estate, it seems since his passing, it's like either really hit or miss, like super expensive, limited edition, mega expensive thing, or nothing,
Yep.
or a half-baked hits compilation. It's not been consistent at all, and it's been super pricey. I mean, even that, I looked on Discogs today, Tony, you'd appreciate this, for that Apple Years box set. You can't, it goes for a couple $100 or quid. I mean, you can't get that anymore. So super, like, it's been very hit or miss and not consistent. And I would think that maybe with this new deal, maybe they take a page out of the Lennon camp and do his albums in that mold.
Well, if they could do it, they really are the benchmark, I think, for box sets as far as everything goes, content, price point. They are the real benchmark, brilliantly put together boxes. But I think just generally George's catalog has just been so undersold as far as things that are left in the vault is concerned. Like you said, Kit, early takes volume 1, what was that, 10, 11 years ago? There is volume 2. I mean, we got a nice selection of outtakes with All Things Must Pass, but let's hear the other stuff for the other albums.
And let's remember too. I mean, things don't necessarily have to be anniversaries, but George's catalog is lined up to follow the years right now if they want to do that. Doing Living in the Material World this shit, Dark Horse, Extra Texture.
Good point,
so on.
Joe. Good point.
So as is John's really as well. Really, if you want, if they want to do that.
And sadly, we're not talking about a discography that's like 20 or 30 albums. There's not that many to do.
Right.
Just like John's.
Yeah. And I'm very excited about it, and as has been said, what I want to see something along, the McCartney archives, the John Lennon sets. I want to see an album, and with all the extras and bells and whistles to it, and dedicated deluxe sets is what I'm hoping, with extras and other outtakes, demos, whatever. And George, I think said that he had a lot of songs too, just different songs.
I'd like to poll everybody, here, on the chat. I mean, with the spatial audio, what's your experience with spatial audio? Being that it's exclusive to Apple Music, will you check it out? I mean, is it something that is a huge listening difference to you, depending on what your system and setup is? I mean, what's everybody's approach with that?
That's the first I ever heard of it when they were talking about spatial audio in the ad. I was like, what? What's that?
McCartney 1, 2, and 3 got spatial audio releases last year.
Yeah, I think it just means Dolby Atmos. I think is what it means. I mean, I don't have Dolby Atmos set up. I do have a 5.1 setup on my hi-fi, and if you play Dolby Atmos through 5.1, it folds it down into 5.1, so you get it sort of coming out of all the speakers. So I will check it out, but that's not really what I'm more looking forward to seeing what physical media comes out of this deal.
Sure.
Yep, I 100% agree. I mean, that's I don't really have a setup, where it would matter that much to me. In the future I may upgrade and maybe I'll be singing a different tune, but for now, I care much more about upcoming releases, hearing more from the archives, that kind of thing.
All right. So
one thing I noticed in the comments, I just wanted to touch on real quick. Mark Zutkoff asks about John Lord's albums, which I was also very interested in that in the press release, and I haven't seen anything stating what that will encompass. John Lord doesn't have a very extensive solo catalog. But yeah, I was very surprised to see his name included in the list of Dark Horse artists, and I'll be looking forward to whatever they release from John.
Single release, a single box set.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, DJ Reed. We're gonna put out a small box set of his single releases in a book of pictures.
One of his coolest singles was that 12-inch maxi single of When We Was Fab, with the revolver image, and then the younger and the older.
Yes.
Klaus Vormann drawing. That's always one of his coolest single covers, right?
Yep, I have that. Yeah, that was very cool. Yeah. Peter Boothroyd said he wants a Cloud 9 suitcase. Well, who knows? Your dream might come true.
Yeah.
I think we should also say hello to Rory Perry. I think it was his name's disappeared off the screen at the moment, but I think that what he was saying was he's also from the UK, so he's up at 2 a.m.
Wow. I know. beatly tone here. He's a night owl. He doesn't mind this, so he says. So that's a good thing. But I'm sorry for other people that well, anybody missing it isn't hearing this now. But anybody who watches the playback and anybody who's here, that's a pretty amazing. What do you have insomnia, or is it George just that important
Yeah,
to
so
you?
hello.
You know.
I'm just a night owl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhat off topic. I mean, a little bit off topic, but I mean, because their birthdays were kind of close. Did anybody see that press release about Yoko moving upstate New York and leaving the Dakota?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see that.
No.
Yeah.
It's a farm that they bought in 1978.
You didn't see that, Tone?
No.
Or Matt?
No,
No.
I didn't see that.
I
No.
saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
Not
read
to
that she-
derail the conversation from George. I just
No,
it was
that's all right.
recent.
I read that she'd been there or something too for a while.
Yeah, and I don't think. Yeah, I think this isn't new. I think she actually moved there. I thought they said like during COVID or something, but that this just hit the news. I don't know. What. Why this just made the news, but yeah, I saw that too. Maybe it's. I mean, it's got to be for health reasons.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
To be be in the city up and down, it's probably not feasible anymore at her age.
Exactly. Yeah. And when it was her birthday, and it was like Elliot Mintz posted on his Facebook page about being at a party, but no pictures. I
Right.
think she
Right.
doesn't want to have her picture taken now.
No.
And, yeah, understood.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, while we wait for people, you can come up with some questions George related, but I want to throw this around a little bit, talking about some of George's albums, solo albums. I was asking everybody here to come up with their 3 favorite George albums. However, I thought maybe we'll exclude All Things Must Pass because for most people, if it's not number 1, it's in the top 3. I thought it would be interesting to say after All Things Must Pass. What do you think? So I'm going to start with Matthew there, and Matt, what do you have for your favorite 3 George albums?
Well, I will say, if you'll allow me a quick plug, All Things Must Pass would be in my top 3, but it's not my number 1. And for George's birthday last year, I did a video ranking George's album. So if you want to see where it falls, you can check it out on my channel. But for my other 3 here, I've got just going from 3 to 1. Number 3, I've got George Harrison, the self-titled album. It's a very mellow album. I can kind of understand why in 1979 it didn't burn up the charts, but I think it's got one of his best solo tracks on here with Blow Away. I just love that song. It's a brilliant song. But the whole album is strong. It holds together really well as an album. The songs flow well together. It's a really, really good effort for George. Actually, I was listening to it. I was thinking, he was definitely a lot happier when he did this album than when he did like Dark Horse and Extra Texture. It's night and day, his attitude on that one. And then second would be Cloud Nine. This is an absolutely great album too. It's there's not a bad track in the bunch. I think George and Jeff Lynne were a great duo. Jeff Lynne, his production really worked well with George's songs. A strong batch of songs, and I don't know if it was the layoff or if it was Jeff Lynne working with him that led him to come up with such a strong running list. But I love these songs, especially Devil's Radio is one of my absolute favorites. And this was actually my first exposure to George as a solo artist. I was about 11 when this came out and watching a lot of MTV, and I have very fond memories of seeing the video for Got My Mind Set on You.
Great
And then,
video.
yeah. And then number 1 would be Brainwashed. It's a really great album in and of itself. And as I was listening to it again earlier today, I was thinking, I think part of it too, though, is just some of these songs, knowing as he was writing and recording some of this material, kind of what he was going through in the, with his cancer, the attack on him in those last years of life. It's really strong material. And Any Road is one of my favorites. I love that one. Yeah. But Looking for My Life, that's the song that really gets to me on this one. It's very powerful.
Yeah, I like it too. And we have a a $5 super chat here from Fish Hopes. Thank you. Asking, I've always thought P2 Vatican Blues was one of his best songs. Anyone else agree? I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Good track.
It's
Funny too.
brainwashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whether I call it one of his best, but I mean I like it.
Doc's got a good question for Matt there on his copy of Brainwashed in a jewel case, which I'm curious too. Where'd you get the jewel case version?
Yeah, this was the reissue from a few years ago, I think.
20
Well,
years.
I guess, yeah. I don't remember exactly when this came out, but it was a reissue. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan of jewel cases. I don't like those cardboard digipacks. You know.
Well, for what it's worth, the original's still lasting, and it's 20 years old.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I got it in a little plastic sheet still, and you know, as long as you take care of them, folks, that's the main thing, right?
Try to find Brainwashed on vinyl. That's no easy task.
I actually just found a copy. Almost by pure luck, I was on Discogs because none of the record stores around me got Ringo's stuff last Black Friday. I'm like, I've got to get me a copy
There
of
you
that
go.
Old Wave CD.
Yeah.
Ordered it up from somebody that had it cheap, and then I said, let me just see what else they've got while I'm making an order. And they had Brainwashed on vinyl for $29. So I was like, you know,
Wow.
cannot pass that up. So
No, that was cheaper than what I paid for it 20 years ago.
Wow.
should have it in on Wednesday, I think. So
Nice score, Matt.
yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to see because I have something here, but I think they're talking about sometime the New York City concert, right? Mark, you talking about the afternoon show, terrible audio, but can you hear the differences in performances? I don't know if you mean the 1974 tour or the talking
Gotta be.
about John's show.
I don't know.
Let us know. And in the meantime, let's go over to Tone to find out about your 3 albums, sir.
Okay. Well, All Things Must Pass is my number one. So number 4, I've got that one, George Harrison, self-titled album. I just think it's a fantastic album as well. Not Guilty. Love the mellow version of Not Guilty. Just a quick round the table. Is anyone picking this one over the Beatles version?
Yeah.
Take a
Well,
hundred.
it's the first one I heard, you know, so I mean, I'm really attached to it that way, and I'm used to it that way.
It's
a
good
lot.
as a George track, but the
Yeah.
Beatles one is the Beatles one.
I don't understand how it was left off the White Album.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when they really got a good take of it, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, they
probably
did
prefer
100
the
some odd
Beatles.
takes of the damn song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's
102,
weird.
I think it was.
Yes.
102. But
Yeah.
anyone else for George's version over the Beatles? No.
No,
well-
I like them both,
Sorry.
but I lean toward the Beatles version.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. But I still think it's a great track.
Oh, it's a good track. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love Love Comes to Everyone. I think that quite often the first track on an album kind of sets the tone for the album, and it really does in this case. It's a really sort of upbeat song. And I've got as another standout, obviously, Blow Away is just the most infectious melody, just brilliant, really upbeat. And from the other end of the scale, Your Love Is Forever is just gorgeous, I think. George's understated slide guitar on that. I think this song goes a little bit under the radar, but it's just fantastic instrumentation throughout that song. Beautiful song. So my next one up was Brainwashed. So Brainwashed, what am I going to say about Brainwashed? There's a lot of good, like Matt said, a lot of the songs, you know, he's obviously in poor health and there's a lot of reflection in there, but he still manages to stay upbeat on a lot of them. I love that line on Any Road. If you don't know where you're going, you know, any road can take you there. It's just so true. Just fantastic line. Stuck Inside a Cloud is again a sad song, and I think it's a kind of commentary on his poor health at that particular time. But I think that I think that he's got that killer lyric. I'm talking to myself and crying as we part, knowing as you leave me, I also lose my heart, which is just a heartbreaking lyric, but just fantastic. And the other one that I wanted to point out was the actual title track, because I just think that this track, it just encapsulates every George that we know. It's kind of, it starts off with this sort of a big guitar riff, because he is a guitarist. We got that Indian section in the middle, because it's all about the Indian music, and he's got sort of angry lyrics, and he's got witty lyrics in it, and so I just think you just kind of get lots of different bits of George all in one sort of in one song
track. Yeah.
And I just love that, that verse. They brainwashed my great uncle. They brainwashed my cousin Bob. They even got my grandma when she's working for the mob. Fantastic stuff. Yeah. And I just think nothing really epitomizes George than that sort of little bit where you in the middle, where you've got like a tabla with a ukulele playing underneath it, and there's no way that should work, but it just absolutely does, and it's brilliant. And so that's Brainwashed as my sort of number 3 George album, and then my number 2, 33 and a third. Just always loved this album. Bought it on my 16th birthday, and just love it. But Woman Don't You Cry for Me, something that I think he started in the All Things Must Pass sessions, but it sort of comes to fruition here. Love that. It's just really, really funky, that bass that's going through it. Just love that song. Beautiful Girl, again, is an interesting one, because it kind of it's that also started during the All Things Must Pass sessions, where he just had that one verse. So, and I kind of like the concept of this song, because when he started it in 1970, the beautiful girl in the song was obviously Patty, but when he finished it in 75 or 76, the beautiful girl was Olivia. So I really like that. I really like that concept. I love this song, the fact that he's kind of laughing at himself, and it's just so upbeat and infectious, just brilliant. It's What You Value is another favorite of mine on this, where basically he's talking about important stuff. I think he's talking about what is important to you in life, and I think the song started its life as being a commentary on the fact that Jim Keltner didn't want to be paid cash for playing on the 74 tour. He wanted paying with a Mercedes 450.
Oh, right. There's a lyric.
And the final thing I just wanted to say about that is Crackerbox Palace. Again, a fantastic song, but more than that, just a fantastic video.
Yeah,
if you've ever seen the video, but it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. And with the nanny pushing the pram, and then you kind of get to look inside the pram, and it's like a fully grown George. That's brilliant. And the nanny is Neil Innes. I don't know if everyone knows that.
Yes.
Nanny is Neil Innes. It's brilliant. And the final track on the album, Learning How to Love You, is just the most gorgeous ballad. Just fantastic way to end the album. I've just always loved 33 and a third. And my honourable mention goes to Dark Horse, but I won't go into that.
Well, certainly pretty good the way you went through all that, Tone. Boy, I'm just going to give my titles when the time comes. But that's a good job. I appreciate all those thoughts. All right, let's move on to you, Kit. What do you have?
Well, I two of those that you talked about, Toad, I are two of mine as well. So I'm not going to go into too much more detail. The first one, 33 and a third. I've always adored this album, and to just say something a little different than you mentioned is another reason I love this album is, you know, those of you who know me from Talk More Talk and know some of my writing and taking my classes and all, I love my R&B. And 33 and a third has got some R&B on here, and I love when George shows that side of him and that influence. I mean, kicking it off with "Woman Don't You Cry for Me" with that Willie Weeks popping bass. I love that. Pure Smokey. His ode to Smokey Robinson, who had a great influence on him. It's got those moments, but then, as you mentioned, I mean, they're just, if you want humor, you've got it with Cracker Box Palace and this song, although it's kind of, dark humor, to say the least. But as you mentioned, beautiful ballads as well. Dear One and Learning How to Love You is one of my all-time favorite George songs, period. It's one of those that it can be spiritual love, it can be romantic love, just wonderful songwriting. George is in just fine voice here. I've just always loved this album, and for a long time I think it was underrated, really underrated, and in recent years I think it's now getting its due, and long overdue. And my second is George Harrison, because I think 33 and a third and George Harrison are almost like bookends. I've always kind of looked at it that way because they have a similar kind of sound, that sort of softer sound, but they're both great. I mean, I can't remember who mentioned this, but the opening track, Love Comes to Everyone. I mean, this is going to be a good record.
Yes.
I mean, what a kickoff song. Not Guilty's talked about. I love Here Comes the Moon.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful song that I think isn't mentioned enough. Blow Away, as you mentioned. I mean, just one after the other. It's just an incredible record. Your Love Is Forever, Soft Touch. I mean, just you can tell. It's been mentioned before. I mean, he's clearly in a much happier place here. That he's content in his relationship with Olivia. You can just hear it in every track here. It just a wonderful record. And my last pick is Cloud Nine. And Matt, I didn't realize that you were a bit younger than I am. Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school when this came out. And I have great fond memories of that. That it was just so great to hear his comeback, and so many of my friends were kind of like, who's this guy? This came up, I was like, hey, he's pretty good, and got my mind set on You came out. But as you said, what a record it was. He and Jeff Lynne worked so well together. Really not a bad track on it. And what is so great, and was and is so great about the record was that I think, Jeff Lynne did such a wonderful job of making George sound contemporary. I mean, it really did sound contemporary for the time, but still, not diminishing George's signature sound. I mean, you still had the slide guitar, you still had, like with Devil's Radio, and When We Was FaB, and you had that humor, and you had some more spiritual songs on there. So you didn't, his signature style was not erased at all, but it sounded very contemporary for the time. I mean, it was just so nicely done. And it still sounds great today. It really does. It really hasn't aged. So yeah, a lot of great personal memories around that record, and and just still, I mean, This Is Love. I still love that song. I mean, I just think that's a kind of a little bit more of an underrated track. Someplace Else,
Oh,
always liked.
it's like the
Yeah,
best song on the album.
love that,
my
love
opinion.
that song. Yep. I mean, the list goes on and on. That's what it takes. I mean, goes on and on. But
Quality stuff on that album. Quality.
exactly. I mean, it goes on and on. So those are my three picks.
Yeah, I think Jeff Lynne kind of helped George rediscover his pop sensibilities with that record. I think.
Good point. Good point. And again, they managed to do it. Make a really accessible record, but not dumbing down his sound at all.
Anybody have thoughts on the song "Sat Singing"?
It's not one of my favorites
No.
of his.
So-so.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm listening to the whole CD with the bonus track. I'll listen to it, but I'm not going to go seek it out.
Right.
Yeah, what'd you say if I told you I don't really know it? I mean, I love it, but those are one of the songs that were left off. Somewhere in England.
Somewhere in England,
right. Yeah. And I can't recall it, so that shows you how little I've heard it. To tell you the truth, and I usually know I'm up on those things, but not this time.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not one of my favorites, but
and when we know Shanghai Surprise probably is Kit, right?
Oh, totally.
I do like that song a lot, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I do love the song "Horse to the Water." I do like that song a lot, and that's
great song.
That's considered his last song, isn't it? Really?
Yes.
"Horse to the Water."
Yeah.
Now I should add to that comment. If we were talking Flying Hour, now that's rather than Sat Singing, Flying Hour, that's an incredible song. That should have been on Somewhere in England. And we're cooking with gas.
Beatle man for Paul says, I liked when George played with Carl Perkins. If somebody out there has not ever seen that special, Carl Perkins and Friends, with George plays along, that really rejuvenated George's interest. Reignited his interest in playing again. He said later, I think it really started to get back out there because he had a great time. If you haven't seen that, you got to see that special. George really getting into it and playing, and you got Ringo on there, and you got Eric Clapton on there, and other stars. It really, I think Dave Edmunds is in there. I think.
Eric Clapton's on it, isn't he? I think.
Yeah.
I remember.
And it's terrific.
Dave
and George is. Yeah, he does everybody's trying to be my baby. George does, and he's never had so much fun in his life.
Yeah.
Playing with his hero Carl, So you really got to catch that if you haven't seen it. Listen, now, Andy, you're up, and I'm dying to hear what your picks are because we don't always agree, and I'm wondering if we're going to agree on this or not.
Well, I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna have one album that everybody to this point has shown so far, and I'm gonna make it a 4 for 4. That's with the self-titled from '79. Yeah. This is the 2017 reissue that I actually got at the fest last year. I got a slew of them there, and for all the reasons that Tone and Matt and Kit said, can't really add too much to it because you all hit it. I will say that, his son Danny was born the year prior, so I'm sure that had a big kind of reason for the the kind of the mode and the everything, the spirit of what this album is. Of course, again, if I'm going to listen to the album, I'll listen to Not Guilty and appreciate it for what it is on this album's terms, but I still go for the Beatle one. But I do like the kind of folky vibe of it on this record as a George track. Kit mentioned Here Comes the Moon and Blow Away, which is great and faster. And this is just a very, very chill, wake up on a Sunday morning and put this album on kind of thing. That's what it is. Enjoy it. Second one, mentioned a couple times already, 33 1/3 as well, for all the reasons said. Love the R&B stuff, Kit, as well. George, in all of his music, really it was the best Beatle at kind of taking the mickey out of himself, you know, and having a laugh at himself. And it's so evident in his music when you listen to it. You know, he doesn't take himself seriously, and that translates well into listenable, funny music that we could just have a laugh, you know. And you hear it on this song and Cracker Box Palace, which tone the videos are better than the songs themselves. You know, especially this song video. I mean, come on, that is priceless.
That is great.
Priceless. You know, walking in, getting brought in, thrown in. You know, everybody. It was like, you know, it was like George was like the other member of Monty Python there for a little while with all the production and the people involved with it. And
he really has a good sense of humor, George, in those promos. Really, he's having a good time.
Yeah,
true love also.
You know, and so before I get to my number one, other one, I'll say again, All Things Must Pass is my favorite one too as well.
Yeah.
We had a couple of conversations either on Two Legs or chats with Joe, you know, about George's work, and this is a book I picked up about a year ago, written by our friend Owen Ling, George Harrison in the '70s, right? And Owen is a good guy. We've had him on a lot, and he's got a lot of really kind of interesting opinions. And one of his is that he thinks Extra Texture is George's best album. And really does not like Cloud 9, which is really, interesting. So,
wait, thumbs up or down for Extra Texture right now? Let's just see.
Oh.
Andy's I didn't know you were going. I didn't know that's where you were going. I should have figured.
Well, I'm not. Listen, I have given Owen's thoughts on it. I gave it a re-listen, and I like it, but I'm not going to rank it above these top 3 or 4 that we're all kind of talking about tonight. You know, I like it, but I'm not gonna rank it above any of the records that all of us are talking tonight. But in his vision, but I mean, Owen thinks that George sounds like alive and full of life again on that record, and it ain't happening on that record. It's happening on this one. It's happening on 33 1/3.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know we all agree on that, but I don't hear the excitement that
No.
you know, that's there. And there's some great tracks on Extra Texture. The Answer's at the End. I know Ken Michaels likes it a lot.
Me too.
And Joe, Can't Stop Thinking About You. Those are good tracks, you know. But come on, you know, it's I wouldn't put it.
Can't stop thinking about you. Tom Haggerty, where are you? I know Tom likes that song. Although I like you. I love Answers at the End, and I love This Guitar Can't Keep from Crying.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, great song. But I mean,
and that's it for me.
It's okay, but it's not nearly the upper echelon of George's solo album. It's just not.
Yeah.
And my number one, we haven't heard it tonight, but I know Ken Michaels is gonna, if he's watching, he's gonna be smiling now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Living in the Material World. I think it's Ken's favorite solo Beatle album. Period, isn't it?
I think it might be. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Again, an album that's not laced with a lot of rock in it. There's a lot of spiritualism in this record and a lot of kind of deep, thought-provoking, religious type stuff in it. Who Can See It and Be Here Now and That Is All. You know, you got Try Some, Buy Some, and Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth, which is great. Again, you know, great song. Living in the Material World, you know, John and Paul living here in the material world, which is great. A great lyric in that song. You know, I think That Is All is a great closer.
Yeah.
And bonus trivia question: who did a cover of That Is All? Anybody know for 100 points?
Yeah, somebody mentioned it. Now my short-term memory's gone again. Somebody just mentioned it. I can't remember. Andy Williams.
Yeah. Andy Williams.
Hey,
Are you
memory's good.
serious?
Fact.
Okay, I got to go look that up after the show.
Andy Williams does a cover of That Is All, and it's damn good too.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it's really good. So yeah, Living in the Material World. I always thought Who Can See It is a great track too.
Yeah.
Again, these are not super poppy.
No.
You know, you're not gonna go out on a Saturday night and dance to the music, but it's still George kind of in that spiritual mode, which he kind of got out of by the time he got to this period.
Right.
You know, so you get the best of George with these picks, in my opinion. So those are my 3. Another trivia question: what George Harrison song is featured in one of those handmade films that was
Dream Away, isn't it?
What's that?
Dream Away.
Dream Away.
Well, that was one. That was a handmade
Isn't
film,
the
but I'm
time
talking about
bandit?
another one. A song
Okay.
from this album was in a
Ah.
handmade film.
Blow away.
What film?
Nuns on the Run.
Bing, 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 bing.
I remember that.
Yes. Yeah.
What
That
price
is
do
a
I get?
yeah. It's in the mail.
All right.
I'll tell you what. If you haven't seen, Nuns on the Run is a hysterical movie.
Hilarious. That's
Has
a
that-
great movie.
Has anybody ever seen it?
No.
Nope.
Oh man,
Eric Idle, Robbie Coltrane. Very funny.
hysterical handmade films. Probably one of the last ones they did. Actually,
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think it was one of the last ones. Yeah.
I did see it, unlike Time Bandits, and when it was in the theater, and I guess about that time you were probably in a crib somewhere getting a bottle.
Me? Yeah.
Right?
Time Bandit? Probably.
Something like that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, for context, Cloud 9, I was like 6. So.
Wow.
Nuns on the Run sounds like one of those films that you know that's going to be terrible just by the title.
But it's
not-
good.
it isn't.
It's a
It
good
really
movie. It's hysterical.
I
You
would
think
give it.
it's
I'd
going to
give it a
be
shot.
that way. You really do, but it's actually funny.
It really is. It is damn good. I don't know if it's on anything, but I haven't seen it probably in years. I don't know. Kid,
Me
you
either,
probably...
but it was funny. It's,
Oh
yeah,
man.
Steve Schnee. Yes, your next show you have to play Andy Williams. Absolutely.
Oh, Schnee. Yeah.
Dig up that version.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are my 3. But yeah, we're all pretty much on the same page for the most part.
This
with
is a
those.
pretty good comment here.
Yeah,
I know
Robert,
I know what you're saying, Robert.
Well, they were flying or they were hitting people.
Oh,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
this is true.
So Joe,
Wow.
what are yours?
Yeah, what
Okay,
are your
what are
picks?
mine? Well, for number one, I also have All Things Must Pass. So it's tough to decide on the other 3, and I'll put them in order, descending to up to best. The last one first. I guess I have Living in a Material World. Is the lower one. I mean, I'm not going to go into all the, I'm just telling you what they are. I'm not going to go into all the details. But I will say that it's the kind of album I think you have to, for some people, it's a grower. It's something you got to like eventually get to used to and to appreciate it. For me, anyway, that's what happened as I got older. It's not a pop album mostly. And it's some deep cuts and spiritual cuts, but they're beautiful. They really make you feel and think. Okay, then after that, I have the self-titled George Harrison album. I just think that's a great album. It's gotten a lot of appreciation in recent times. I'm glad to say, and that's one of the first albums I actually bought when it was brand new, and I went into Sam Goody. And if I was doing videos at the time, I could have made a rant video because at Sam Goody they kind of sliced the corner with a razor blade. They used to write I don't know if anybody experienced it. They'd write in a pen, like something on it. They on the lower back corner. I don't know what it was, like a price or something, and they would do that routinely. And I just remember that. And the second album for me, after All Things Must Pass, is Cloud 9. George's comeback album. I know a lot of people don't like that term. He's always around. Even George would say, I was around. I was doing things, just not doing albums really. For a while. But I just think it's commercial. It's got great production. I like Jeff Lynne's production. Some people don't. I think he really kind of saved George's career at that time, in a way. And the songs, though, are really strong, too, So the material's really good. It's not just like, the production's good and it's a little poppy, so that's good enough. No, the songs are good. And there you have it. And 33 and a third almost went in there for me instead of Living in the Material World. Because I think that's also very good.
Good choices. Well, we all had self-titled in our other 3, which was not surprising.
Well, I don't know. You don't have to say sorry. Everybody's got different opinions.
Yeah.
And you're entitled to be wrong.
But
Okay.
it's interesting to think about it. Somebody said there must be a ton of unreleased songs. To think about a deluxe set of all these Georgia albums with extra material, outtakes, demos of all these songs that we have not really heard any of. That's a real bonus for us fans because we don't have any of that stuff at all. So think about a deluxe George self-titled, deluxe 33 and a third, to hear like a demo or a working progress version of this song or Crackerbox Palace. That's going to be great if they exist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting when you were talking about Joe about I think it was Living in the Material World, that it's kind of a grower. Brainwashed was kind of a grower for me, and I think it was because when it first came out, there was that sort of cloud of sadness around it, of course, because it was not long after his death, and I think when I first heard it, that was sort of that was foremost in my mind. And so it became at first kind of a depressing listening experience for me, except for some songs like Any Road and but then over the years, as it got farther away, that sort of that kind of cloud around it, now I appreciate it a lot more. And so that album became a grower for me over time, and I like it a lot more now.
Another album good. I could see why you would feel that way, Kit. Especially shrouded in around his death and all that, and the concert. Yeah, because the concert for George and that were all out at about the same time as I recall.
Exactly. So it's interesting, how your views can change of an album over time. It's but that was definitely the case for me. It wasn't that the songs were bad or anything. I think that just really affected the way I listened to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember playing the hell out of that thing for a while because that was when I wasn't alive, obviously, when John passed away. So that was the first time a Beatle died. It was like, whoa. VH1 like on nonstop, like with the videos playing and the tributes back when VH1 was VH1.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. My comments taking a long time on my end for them to materialize when I pressed them. It's a shame that the Dark Horse LP is marred by his voice condition at the time. I think on Talk More Talk we're going to do at some point another listen.
Yeah.
Give this another listen. Because see if it's improved at all for us.
Dark Horse is the album that I keep going back to, thinking I want to like it more than I do, because I love the title track and I love Ding Dong Ding Dong, but the rest of the album I just can't quite get completely on board with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love it. I've always loved it. I've kind of got a soft spot for it because it was the first ever George solo album that I got, and I don't know why I went for that one. It must have been cheap or something like that. It must have been on offer. But I just always loved it. I've never really understood why it's hated so much. It's like there's a load of good songs on it. Simply Shady's great.
Simply Shady's my favorite.
So sad.
Harry's on tour, the opener.
Yes, I was just going to say, Harry's on tour. I mean, I'm not really a fan of instrumentals, but that rocks. It's great. I love it. Far East Man is a fabulous track. And obviously Dark Horse, all right, it's got the voice, but it's still a great song.
Yeah.
I don't think this album is anywhere as bad as it's been previously reported. It needs to be loved a bit more.
I tell you what, that live version of Dark Horse on Live in Japan, he sings it a lot better on that than he does on the album.
It's funny. It's gotten to a point for me where when I hear the song Dark Horse, I'm so used to it the way it sounds on the record. Yeah. I almost accept it that way, and I don't mind it. I don't know.
Yeah, nice shout out. Go ahead, Matt.
I actually think on that track, I actually kind of like the rougher sounding vocals for him. I think it suits it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mark had a shout out to Tom Scott and the LA Express, which George worked a lot with. During this period there in the mid 70s, and a lot of his work was on there.
Yeah,
that was Joni Mitchell's band, wasn't it? The LA Express.
Yeah. Not to mention an honorable mention for my list, which I don't know if it counts or not, but I'm going to count it. Was the compilation, The Best of Dark Horse, 76 to 89, because you had 3 tracks that were never on here before.
Yep.
And 3 belters. They were 3 belters. All 3 of them are great.
Yeah, I liked them.
Wore the hell out of this CD when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah, and
Yep.
all three of those new tracks feature Deep Purple Z and Pace on drums, who later worked with Paul on Run Devil Run as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh. Oh,
interesting.
wow. Oh, that's great.
That's an interesting factoid. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
Does anybody know the if Stuck Inside a Cloud was written in the 70s? What is it about?
Well, I don't think it was. I don't think it was written to this. It's about him.
No.
It's about him coming to grips with, the end of his life.
Illness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful song.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
is.
just looking for comments. Anybody got any idea?
I'll be right
feel
back, gang.
free.
I'll be right back.
Oh, sure.
I wonder why George isn't officially credited on "And I Love Her." Well,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of things like that, right? I mean, that's the thing. But Paul's always people are going to be watching, saying, "Here he goes, putting his hate on Paul again," which I'm not doing. But it is true that Paul always loves to say, "I did this little bit and I did that little bit." But thankfully, Paul did give George his due about "And I Love Her," and did say that he came up with the guitar bit, and he even said that's something like that's the song. Makes the song.
Mhm.
So I'm glad he told us that. But how many other things are there you don't know that, right? That anybody contributed to? I bet you even Ringo contributed to
Mhm.
more than you think. Maybe some lyrics or something.
I'm sure
Rob-
they all did. They all probably chipped in little bits. I mean, Hard Day's Night, that came from Ringo, didn't it? The actual title.
Sure.
Yeah, that's right. Rob S. asked earlier when he said I'll get hate for it, but Cloud9 is a bit overrated. He asked later on, am I banned from the fest now?
Yeah.
Think about it.
No, he's my
I'm
ride.
kidding.
He's my ride.
Oh, well, then he's definitely not banned.
That's funny.
A couple of people mentioned, that they like on let me see, and I think it's Extra Texture. They're like tired of Midnight Blue. I actually kind of like that song too. It's a very honest song. I mean, that's what I like about it. I mean, he was, you can really hear what he was going through at the time. A little too much partying, and
That's one of the few songs on Extra Texture that I really like, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I get those other ones. To me, they're all dirges, and I get them mixed up. I can't tell the difference between which one's Tired of Midnight Blue, which one's World of Stone. To me, they were like.
If there is one constructive criticism with some of these albums, is that if there's a couple of, even on like Material World, some of those songs are just a little bit too dirgy, and they might get a little bit tired. There's not enough pop
on that album. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You really have to be in a mood to hear those kind of songs.
Yes.
You do. Those I think there's 3 ballads, isn't there, on Living in the Material World. That Is All, Who Can See It, and I can't remember what the other one is, but they're all really beautiful songs, but they just kind of they're so slow and go on for so long.
Oh, The Day the World That Gets Round?
No.
What
is it? Oh God, I haven't got it here. I can't remember.
Oh, The Light That Has Lighted the World. Right?
Well,
no, it's there's Who Can See It. That Is All. Be Here Now. Be Here.
Yeah.
Be Here Now is beautiful.
Yeah, Be Here Now. That one. I think they're all really, really gorgeous ballads, but they just kind of go on a little bit too long. They're just too slow.
Yeah. That's true. They are.
No, that's true.
What you say, Andy, is right. You do really have to be in the mood for them. I think.
Yeah. So, they had the George Harrison box set vinyl in 2017. I didn't buy it. Has anybody here purchased that? If so, is it good?
No.
I did not buy the box set. I bought them individually. Actually, all of them, most of them, all last year at the fest. But because I was at Althea, and then Tom, actually my co-host, picked me up a copy of the All Things Must Pass one. But 17, they all got redone again right around that time. Did you get them, Tone, too, or no?
I didn't know. I didn't get them. I mean, I had them all already on vinyl, apart from Brainwash, which I got more recently on vinyl.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't get them.
The box
Matt,
was nice. I like
Matt, you do CD and vinyl or just CD?
Yeah, I do CD and vinyl, and actually I've got the Cloud 9 from 2017. I think that was the only one that I picked up.
Yeah.
So you didn't, nobody really mentions Somewhere in England a lot of times, too much. But I have more of an appreciation for that these days. I think not that it's not in the top bunch for me, but it's not in the last one.
Here's a question
either.
for the panel: would you have liked the rejected one, or do you like the one that
Oh.
officially came out?
I'd have to hear them. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I think that the songs that were rejected were probably the right ones. I mean, I do like the album as it is. I'm not saying that the others wouldn't have. If they were included, it wouldn't make the album any worse. I don't think, but I do kind of like I can kind of see why most of those 4 tracks were
Elbowed. Yeah.
were elbowed.
Yeah, I used to, I agree. I think that it's definitely like mid-tier,
That's where I've got it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it has grown on me over time. I mean, even like Blood from a Clone, which I used to not like, I've grown to be more appreciative. I think, that George had a set on him to start the album.
Yeah.
Basically giving, the record execs the middle finger saying, "Oh, you want me to write a hit? You want me to write something modern?
Right.
Here you go." And that they okayed that. They rejected the other songs.
Yeah.
Like
But then it's okay.
this one, cool.
Yeah.
And we'll make that the lead track. I mean, what?
Idiots.
I mean,
Idiots.
so I've really grown to appreciate that song.
It's like turkeys voting for Christmas, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. That's funny.
Yeah, Somewhere in England is near the bottom for me. But I do like Blood from a Clone, so to me it was worth having those songs rejected just to get that one out of it.
Yeah.
I like
That's the way you're looking at it.
Teardrops is always one of those wonky ones. It's weird, but I like it. I
like it. That's a good.
You like it,
good
Tone?
single.
I really like that. I think Life Itself is a great ballad.
Oh, I love that song.
Right, which again, most of I only learned that from the Best of Dark Horse compilation because that's all I had it on initially back then. I'm like, it's a damn good song.
Lovely,
beautiful.
Lovely song. I really like Teardrops because it's kind of upbeat and very poppy. Obviously,
you need that from George sometimes.
All those.
And I think the original cover was the better cover too. I think that's a shame that he didn't reuse that cover.
Yeah.
The original, the one with the hair.
Yes,
or the one on the pavement. Oh right. Okay.
No, the hair with the UK in the background.
The black and white one.
To it. Yeah,
that one was better. But Ollie Perry. Yeah, I agree with you. I like Writings on the Wall. That's one of my other favorites from the album. Another kind of spiritual song. I mean, I think there are some decent songs on there. But again, I'm not claiming it's one of his best for sure.
So no one else likes Baltimore Oriole. Am I the only one here?
Yeah, I'm kind of.
I do. I
love it.
I like both the Hoagie Carmichael covers on there, but it's obviously a bit short of material to put 2 covers on one album.
Well, this thing has been lingering here.
Baltimore Orioles.
No,
really.
Rob, we didn't buy any. I didn't buy any.
I did not buy All Things Must Grass.
No thanks.
I got the gnomes. That's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are expensive gnomes, man. Oof.
They are. You got them too, Joe. Are you kidding?
I did what? The gnomes?
Yes.
Yes, I did. They said they're expensive gnomes, man. I got them. Yeah. Sure.
Absolutely. KRWG, Cheer Down.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my very favorite of all George solo
Great
songs.
song. And what movie? What credits? What credits did that feature in the end of what movie? Anybody know?
Lethal Weapon 2.
Weapon 2.
Yes.
I got one.
Yeah. One album we haven't really talked about at all is Gon Troppo.
And that's just as
I
well
think
with me.
that's underrated. I really like that
Everybody
one.
likes that these days, I noticed.
Yeah, that's that's made kind of a comeback as
Has it?
boy, I remember for years in the 80s. I mean, that was just like scum. I mean, like everybody's either just like, let's just skip over that, or just the worst thing he ever recorded. And now, not so, now people are coming around to it.
No, I'm still. Well, it's funny when we did our another listen on Talk More Talk Show. I was coming around to it a little bit more on the last one. Now I'm against it again. It's dull. It's a dull album to me. It's really boring.
Couple of good. I mean, Wake Up My Love. I love the synths, even though they're cheesy. I think the synths are great. Dun, 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 you know. And of course, That's the Way It Goes is a great track.
I like
love
that one.
That's the Way It Goes is my favorite track on there.
Yeah, I like that.
And I love the Dream Away song.
Dream Away. And Circles, which goes all the way back to the White Album.
It goes in circles, man. I'm bored by that song.
You don't like that one?
No. No,
Yeah,
it's dull
I'm
as
not a huge-
dishwater.
Yep.
Crappy cover too. Not good artwork on that one.
Yeah. Egypt Station was an improvement on that cover. No, I don't believe that. By the way, a lot of people actually believe that Paul copied the cover. I'm sure he never even saw the cover in his life.
Probably not.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, you could sort of tell that. Yeah, I mean, George's heart. Oh, jeez.
No, that was a mail-in job, and
yeah. I mean, he definitely, he was still smarting from his experience with Somewhere in England, and he wanted out of the record business. But actually, Joe, when you were talking about that the evening with Carl Perkins and all, I mean, that really was the start of his comeback, because I mean, I think that was where he, started kind of falling in love with music again. I mean, you could see it on that show. He was really having fun.
I thought I remember him talking about that somewhere and saying that. Yeah,
well, you could see it right there. I mean, the look on his face.
No, Baltimore Oriole is Hey Jude compared to Circle. I'm sorry. Even and George didn't write Baltimore. It's a cover of Baltimore Oriole.
Yeah.
Still.
Hoagie Carmichael. Yeah.
Yeah. Great horns in that song.
Yes. That's true.
No, I don't buy these at all. Come on. This is another topic entirely, but there's no way that Press to Play copied Double Fantasy. You want to take like a romantic picture of two people looking like the old Hollywood days. Press to Play looks kind of Hollywood. They use an old camera and everything to make it look like that. You think he's saying, "Oh, let me nick John's concept"? And how much of a unique concept is that? A black?
No, I don't think that was the intent at all.
No, I don't either.
Never even crossed my mind.
Me either.
No.
And Press to Play. I mean, this is not the place to talk about it, but I do have to say, talk about albums that are getting reappraised. You have to look a long way these days to find somebody who can't stand Press to Play now. Everybody's saying it's such an underrated, overlooked album. I know a lot of people here love it. Who here loves Press to Play out of the group?
Love? Define love.
Wait a minute. Well, Matthew, what do you? How is it?
I like about half of it.
Yeah, it's about the same for me. It's fine, but I can't say that I love it.
No.
I'm not keen on Angry or However Absurd, but the rest of it I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Angry, but yeah, I'm with you on However Absurd. That's not one of my favorites.
No,
I agree with that.
Pretty Little Head, great.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Weird Paul, I love it.
even a better video with the She's Leaving Home on top at the intro.
Oh, I love the video. That is so cool.
Yeah. We'll see. We're not trying to turn this into two legs. So.
No.
Yeah, let's stop. It's my fault.
Back to yep. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this. That's interesting. Peter Boothroyd.
So there you go. He'd never seen Gon Troppo. So
I
There
didn't
you
really
go.
I didn't even know the song "That's the Way It Goes" until Joe Brown did it at the concert for George.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did not know that song because I didn't really know Gontrapo other than Gontrapo and it's "Wake Up My Love" from the Best of Dark Horse. I'm like, well, that's a damn good song. What album is that on? You know, and then give you another reason to explore it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I remember picking up Gontrapo at my local record store, and it was in the cutout bin.
When
I
it was
remember
brand
Where it
new.
belongs.
Yeah, no, it wasn't brand new.
Oh.
No, and I was just like, why is this here? This is a George Harrison album. Why would this be in the cutout bin? I know, and I grabbed it, and I was like, oh,
Even the self-titled one was in the cutout bin at one
was it
time.
really? Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, gosh.
I saw it there.
Have you guys heard Eric Clapton's version of "Love Comes to Everyone"? That's tremendous.
Yes, I've heard that. That is good. It is
Oh,
a
I
good
didn't hear it.
version. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Did it on his 2005 album "Back Home"? I want to say with BB, but I don't know if it was with BB King, but
No, I don't know if
forget.
it was with anybody.
but damn, his versions of that is so good.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I mean, I still, I
Oh,
still love George is the best, but that was a good cover.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love this song, Miss Odell. I think it's a hoot. Well, it's a comedy kind of thing, funny thing, and I love it. But there was a bit of trivia about it. Who said it? Andy? Somebody said who Miss Odell was or something, which I'm not sure.
Well, Chris O'Dell. That's who it
Chris
is.
Odell.
That's who it's about.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Fonzie who used to go? I knew that. Fonz used to say that. I knew
I think so.
You
Yep.
know. What do we got here? There's quite well. No, but that. Oh, I don't think it's spoiled. Well, it says it's spoiled by the laughter. Yeah, I guess it is as a song, but I kind of like that little bit about it, the laughing and
Yeah, I think it adds
She's
some charm to it.
she's been a fest attendee, right, Kit?
Oh yeah, many times.
Yeah.
In fact, no, she's not. I was just about to say she's coming this year. No, she isn't.
No,
No,
right,
that
but
was last
previous, last year, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, this year it's Patty Boyd. I think.
Is it Patty Boyd?
I think so. Yeah, talking
Wow.
about George Harrison. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean? However absurd as Paul's when we was fab.
Yeah. Not sure the connection.
His when we was fab is great.
And
I love
well, and however absurd predates when we was fab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, by like a year.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Laura, did George ever stop being spiritual?
I don't
What do
think so.
I think no, probably not, but maybe he wasn't as serious about it at certain times of his life.
Oh,
Well,
I don't know. Right at the
I
end.
mean, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of his albums, I have a feeling that by the time he recorded 33 and a third, I don't know, the record company might have told him, hey, could you
Well,
back on
the records, but personally, he was always. That was a quote
Yeah.
that Olivia said about him when he passed. He went out of this world as he lived at something conscious of God or something. And
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
spiritual, But on the records, but life itself is supposedly about,
Well,
higher.
like Tone
power.
mentioned with the track "Brainwashed," you're getting all the little bits of George in the one track. I mean, the quotes of the Bhagavad Gita, whatever. Then that's that script, that quote that's there. So I mean, he never obviously got away from it.
No, I think he just wasn't as in his music. As I mentioned, that there were songs he did that you could interpret them spiritually or romantically or platonically. I mean, he was a little vague about it. But I think, perhaps when his record sales weren't as great, by about the mid '70s, I think perhaps he thought maybe I shouldn't, because I think he was accused by many reviewers of being too preachy and
Oh,
and
I tell you
so
what, if Extra Texture is the record that Owen Ling thinks it is, he would have kept making records like that, and he didn't. So
yeah, right.
Well,
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think he did kind of pull back on the overtly spiritual stuff.
I've had a lot of because everybody, that's what makes the world go round. Everybody's different opinions. But
Yeah.
when Owen Ling talks about Cloud Nine pretty much sucks, and Extra Textures is best or something. That's why I don't get it.
What were you going to say, Tone?
I was going to say that I think that there was a little period sort of around the Dark Horse album where he was a little bit conflicted with his spirituality because he was doing a lot of drugs. He was sleeping with everyone's wife. There was a time there where he was a little bit,
Yes,
I think, out of sorts with it.
Yep.
I think.
I don't think he ever lost it personally. That's my opinion, but it's all over the interviews and even in. Well, it's my opinion only. What am I missing?
Rob's comment about Tone not looking tired.
I was laughing at that as well. I'm going to do a couple of laps around the block when we finish this.
What do you mean? Andy didn't say that. What are you talking about, Doc? Owen Lane says that.
I didn't say that, Doc.
No.
Owen Ling does not.
Owen,
the writer of the very good book. I'll give him another plug. George Harrison, the 1970s. He doesn't think it's great.
Oh, I definitely disagree. I think Live in Japan is, while I'm happy to have it, it's kind of a lackluster effort all around.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that album.
I love the album, but I wish, I don't love the way it was recorded. I mean, the recording sounds flat. I mean, he and the band are great. I just wish it would be. I don't know if remastering would help. I don't know.
What do you think? It's too sterile, kid?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it just always sounds a little flat to me. But I mean, the album's great. I mean, hey, it's a live recording of George. So that's wonderful. But I think, did we have a discussion of this on Talk?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yes.
Didn't we do a show on that?
Yeah, I think we did. So I'm like suddenly feeling deja vu here, but I think we did. Yeah, I don't know if there could be any remastering done to freshen the sound up, give a little punch, but I don't know. But apparently George wanted it recorded that way. Like he wanted it. I forget how he said it, but he wanted it recorded a certain way. And yeah, sorry, George, that was not.
What are we thinking about Danny's statement here? We will also be using the opportunity to make custom limited vinyl that we can get away with. Is that translation like 18 colors of vinyl?
Oh, no.
Oh, God, I hope not.
I did think it might.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me.
Because custom vinyl is an odd term to use, unless you're talking about something different from normal vinyl, I think. No?
Good point. Well, he saw McCartney 3 and said, "Oh, we got to do that too."
No more of that. That's great. I'm glad I wound up liking McCartney 3 quite a bit.
Yeah, that was good. I was pleasantly surprised. And thank you, Mark. Yeah, Ken Michaels did do an interview with the guy who engineered. That's what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
And and then Ollie said George wanted the 1991 recording to sound like it was live in a club. That's right. Yeah, because that's the other thing. You don't hear the audience very much.
No.
And I mean, not that I want the audience to overpower it or anything, but that was the other thing. And so when you said sterile, Andy, that is part of it. It's just like I don't want to hear the audience all the time, but a little bit. I mean, some reaction.
Yeah. I still wish that's one on my top of my list. I wish they would do some kind of a thing for the Live in Japan era, the shows, even if you just make a documentary. It doesn't necessarily have to be a whole show. If they have a whole show properly for the Japan, but you can do him and Eric. There's lots of footage of them, getting together, going to Japan, being interviewed and stuff, and then the fans and all the hoopla. And we've seen some of the songs appear on the what's it called? The Dark Horse Years? What was the name of that DVD that was out?
The Dark Horse Years, the one that came out. That one came out in 2004, and then the Apple Years one came out. I don't know how many years ago that was, but
But I mean, they had videos, the videos from 91.
Yes, from the 91 shows. So
you could make it like something of it.
I don't know about that, Joe. I don't know if you could make a documentary about that because, as history has shown us, that tour was just basically thrown together because George needed the cash to recoup.
Well, yeah,
but he was ripped off. He was ripped off by his manager shortly before all that.
But I mean, when you say it can't be done, what do you mean? Like they don't want
I
to
don't.
acknowledge it? I don't follow you.
I mean, maybe you make a documentary about the tour rehearsals and stuff, but why they did it, I don't think you're going to get that.
Oh, because they don't want to.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm not
Yeah.
saying why, but
Mhm.
them actually arriving, and there's lots of. I have lots of footage of all those shelves of him and Eric, doing press conferences and stuff. I don't have to
Yeah,
say
that would
why.
be nice. But I
That's
mean,
what I mean.
when you say documentary, you're thinking about a
Oh
full on, like
no, well, whatever. Well, maybe the wrong word then, but whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
Retrospective. I don't know. Of do something for goodness sake. And then
Yeah.
supposedly, the story I heard was that Danny was actually looking for good material to do the '74 tour.
Mhm.
yeah.
He mentioned that in an interview a few years ago. I've really been hoping that we'll see something. At this point, I guess they may wait until the 50th anniversary next year, but fingers crossed they'll put out something.
Mhm. That'd be good.
Well,
What do
anyone
you?
else have any thoughts,
I'd love,
things to bring
I'd
up?
love, I'd love to see the '74 tour.
I
Mhm.
was just curious
Good
on everybody's thoughts on the 2011 documentary, The Material World by Martin Scorsese.
Oh, that's a
How,
good thing.
what
Brilliant.
everybody
Yeah.
thinks about that. I mean, what say you all?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you my feeling of it is there's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of good footage in there to enjoy, but I feel like it's kind of like too Beatle heavy. It's for me, and they skip over a whole chunk of George's solo career, and I forget. It's been a while. I mean, I forget what they do after
Yeah, I can't.
'74. Don't they just kind of go right to like the end, kind of or something? I don't, it's been a while, but I know I've always felt it was lacking. I'm curious what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too, but that's kind of my memory of it. Is I would have preferred something a bit more comprehensive. I think.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I just remember that thinking it was kind of surfacey. That and I understand. I mean, they only have so much, so many hours to in the documentary. They can't cover everything. But yeah, it was very Beatles heavy. I remember that. And yeah, kind of skimmed over the solo years and skimmed over a lot. I remember thinking
Yeah.
and thought, gee, I think they could have, you know, dug a little deeper
Yeah,
into his life and creative process.
it was light on the solo years, but it's a 3-hour documentary about George Harrison, and they don't come along too often. So
Yeah.
They
I
Yeah, I
don't,
wonder
think
how
and
did they
it's been a
do
long
that? A
time.
3-hour documentary,
they don't, and it's
skipping with that.
I agree with you all, but the footage that we did see, like George watching himself play, like from '76, watching this boy, like that
Yeah.
was gold.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
great. That was
That
great.
things
Yeah.
like that were gold, and then of course, like it might have been lacking in substance in terms of going a real deep dive into his solo career, but it was made heartfelt, and the contributions from Paul and Ringo, like Ringo talking about the last time he met him. Oh my God, like that's
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a
when
great. That's great. Yeah,
yeah.
great clip.
So it might, while it was lacking in a comprehensive look at George's career, it was done tastefully and respectfully.
Don't forget
Mhm.
that footage of the ex Beatles signing the papers to
Oh,
dissolve.
with
the
Paul,
group.
yes, yes.
Oh yeah.
Paul's in there. Paul and George are there. And George is, what does George say? Let this be final. Let the Lord
He
make
can't
this
wait.
be
He can't
final.
wait. He seems like he's and Paul's not too happy. I don't
Yeah.
But
think.
are they signing what they wanted John to come over from the Dakota to come sign? Or
That's
was that
what I
later?
heard. That George
Yeah.
was pissed supposedly that John didn't get over here. Like John didn't do it. Then he did it in Florida. He
Right.
signed the papers in Florida later.
Yeah, on New Year's Eve.
You
Mhm.
know. So.
Yep.
So Mr. Tough John doesn't want to come down and sign
Right.
the papers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jack
Paul
can
flies
take
over.
credit, John.
Paul flies over specifically for it.
Mhm.
George is on tour, and John's just across the park and doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the cards weren't right. What?
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have been a
Not
little
good thing.
pissed too.
Yeah. That's what he said. George is, take them fucking glasses off and get over here.
I guess you were all too young to have gone to the '74 tour, right?
Yeah.
So
I was
Um,
2 years old.
Yeah, I didn't really get into it and heavy until '76
No.
anyway. But I
yeah,
still
same for me.
wasn't knowledgeable enough to see Wings though. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Mm,
I
you
was
too.
lucky enough to see George live. He only ever played
Wow.
one full gig in the UK, which was just him, and that was in 1993.
Was that the Labor Party?
It was you're on the right track. It was the Natural Law
That's the
Party.
one I'm thinking of.
That's-
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
It was coming up to the UK general election, and the Natural Law Party, who one of their policies was something to do with meditation, and George is like right on that. He's on that, and they asked him to do this show, and it was at the Albert Hall. It was kind of announced, and then the tickets went on sale about 3 or 4 days later, or something like that, and I managed to get a ticket. It was Joe Walsh was on the bill, and Gary Moore. They were the two support acts, and he did the live in Japan set. I think there was a couple of songs that he didn't do that he'd done on the Japan set, but it was basically Ringo came out for the encore, and they did While My Guitar Gently Weeps and Roll Over Beethoven, about an 8-minute version of Roll Over Beethoven. There's a video on my channel just telling the whole story.
I've seen it. I watched it. Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Wow.
But it was just amazing to be able to see George live. Just absolutely fantastic experience. Just because the opportunity, didn't come along very often.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You're either, in the US in '74, or you were in Japan in '91, or you saw this gig in the UK. The only gig that he ever played as a solo artist. He did a couple of guest spots, Prince's Trust, all that sort of stuff. But
What was that? The Royal Albert Hall one too.
This was the Royal Albert
That's
Hall.
what he's talking about.
Oh, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah,
I thought that was 90, because I always, in my mind, I'm thinking like 92 for that. You said 93. I got mixed up. Maybe
it might have been 92. I can't remember now.
that's why I got mixed up.
Might have been 92.
I think it might have been 92.
I was thinking, was there something
92.
else I'm thinking that he did?
No,
but there was another one.
It was
sorry,
April '92. It was
Right.
Okay.
Natural Law. I knew it was something political, Tone.
Yeah. That was it.
Yeah. Now I'm clearer now. That's amazing.
Sorry to
And
confuse
there is a copy of that around. I mean,
And I believe Danny played with him at that show too.
He did. Yeah, he was about 12 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very young.
There was something else though, another opportunity that I came close to going, but I didn't in the end, and that was the 1992 Bob Dylan tribute in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
93.
George was at that.
93.
I think it was 92, but anyway, I'll bet you it's October 92. How old were you then? I watched it on the cable. If you're right and I'm wrong, I'm going to feel terrible. But look that up. Look that up.
Pretty sure it was 93.
I ordered special. What is it called?
Oh no,
Okay,
maybe it was. Maybe it was 92 because his first album was 62. So.
All right. Well, who knows?
You're right.
I know. I mean,
Okay, we got to get a bet going here.
That's a great. Talk about a great George appearance when he comes out from My Back Pages, right? And they all sing My Back Pages, and George is wearing that purple blazer. And it's such a great moment, because it's Bob Dylan's concert, right? And they do My Back Pages, and he lets George do the last verse of his own, even after Bob sings his own.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he settled into that too, because at first when he came out, I thought he's doing "If Not for You," which was pretty amazing, and he seemed a little nervous and stiff. And then he got into it with the other songs. Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, but that performance of My Back Pages is awesome with everybody, with Petty and Neil Young, and that was incredible.
Okay, it was released in 93, but it was recorded in 92.
All right, so it's a tie. It's a tie.
So it's kind of a tie. Yeah.
I know because I had the cable. It was you rent it like you rent the
Mhm.
whatever whatever it's called
Pay-per-view.
pay per view,
Yeah.
and I watched it
Mhm.
that way, and I laughed my butt off when or cheered when Sinead O'Connor got booed off. But
Oh
that's
God,
just
that
me.
whole thing.
And
Oh
I
man.
want to just jump. I want to like try to segue out of that. What
Mhm.
is the best book? I like the book that the Ken. Oh, geez, I'm forgetting who wrote it. Ken Womack. I'm tired,
Yeah.
folks. This again, and uh, who's the
Oh, the guy who
Oh
does
God.
produce the guy who does the
Jason
Krupa?
Krupa.
Jason
Jason
Krupa.
Yep.
Yeah.
Krupa.
That was a good book. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
Any other? I mean, I keep
Simon
thinking.
Lang's book. Good.
Go ahead. Hey,
Simon Lang's book.
I don't know which
Uh,
book that
Is
is.
that behind that locked door?
No, I think it's called The Songs of George Harrison. I think.
Hmm.
It might, or that might be the byline. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Hmm.
I can't remember what the title is.
Hmm.
But he
Yes.
does there's a lot of review in the book, so
Okay.
it's not great. It's not that great on the biography side, but it's good on the musical side.
Somebody
Okay.
in the comments had said a couple. They said a couple of times, and we didn't miss it. We didn't post it, but I saw they said that George has an album or a whole slew of Bob Dylan cover songs that he recorded that might possibly come out. I don't know how true that is. I would be fantastic.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
I don't think that Philip Norman's written a George Harrison book.
I don't think so.
No.
No, not after Shout. No.
Let's hope not.
You know what? Actually, I thought I heard he is coming out with one.
Yeah, I think I saw that as well.
Yeah. Come to think of it. I'm not sure. And yes, Mark, the Womack Krupa book, covers the Layla album and All Things Must Pass. It does only cover a specific.
Well, it's there. It's because it's
era.
covering really Eric and George's relationship.
Yeah, but it's a fascinating one, and it covers the All Things Must Pass
Yeah, that part.
recording thoroughly, and it's fascinating.
But the ultimate book probably is still to be written, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like a Cozen, Sinclair, Lewison type book. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Something
On
like
George.
that.
Because somebody
Get to work.
mentioned
Get to work, Andy.
That's right.
Oh, what were you gonna say, Kit?
I was gonna say somebody mentioned "I Me Mine." That's a very, to me, I was very, that's a disappointing book. I mean, you can tell he was definitely, well, particularly with John. I mean, he doesn't even mention John in the book. They were still on the outs at the time, unfortunately, and I don't know. You think he would have more to say about his songwriting process, and doesn't really go into it that much. It's a bit disappointing.
Well, what's the answer for this?
Why is that true? Because when it's
Andy
a good
will say
album,
It's not a good album.
It's not a good album.
it's not a good album.
That's why.
It's a better cover with the die cut design than.
Nice cover, definitely.
Mhm.
And I
The
love the
first time-
texture on it.
The first time I listened to Extra Texture and I got to a bit more of you, I thought, well, he had to put this on here so there'd be more than one good song on the album. But even though it's the same song twice. But
Okay, so Mark, the Simon & Schuster website states that Philip Norman has written George Harrison, The Reluctant Beatle, to be published in November 2023.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Well, his credibility with me is about in the Pisha Dudo, so I can't.
I'm kind of, I'm.
Well, yeah, we have to, but not just because of Shout, because of the Paul book. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't read the Paul book, but I mean the idea that he went around and said, "Oh, wow, you don't like what I wrote? Okay, I'll do a nice book on you."
No,
That
why
kind
don't
of
you
thing.
why don't you take a page out of Alan and Adrian and Mark and actually really write something with some real research, pal. Have a nice day. Norma Phillips, as Macca calls him.
I love what you all just said about Extra Texture. Like, well, it's a nice cover.
Yeah, it's got nice texture on it.
I love that.
I really do like the
What a
texture.
resounding.
It's like an orange. It's got an orange skin texture on it. At least in the States, anyway. I don't know if it was.
So
We'll get Ken Michaels and Owen on there to defend it.
Yes, there you go.
And I love
That
Ken,
was
but nothing is terrible for Ken. Everything is
know.
great.
Well, you said it. I didn't.
I told Ken that.
I've told him
Ken,
that.
I love you. But Ken, there are some things that are not great. It's okay.
Hey, he doesn't like Ringo's version of "Where Did Our Love Go." That's one.
Well,
Oh, that's funny.
No comment on that one.
You know, I'll take it over Extra Texture though.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know the Style Council, Paul Weller's band in the 80s. They put an album out called The Cost of Loving, and that had an all orange sleeve as well, and that was universally panned. So the question is, has there ever been an album in an orange sleeve that's been any good?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm thinking now. Now you got me thinking about that.
Yeah.
Interest. Yeah, the concert for Bangladesh wins.
Ah, yes.
Wow,
Okay, there you go.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's
Gee,
your answer.
I'm wearing a shirt concert from
Yeah.
Bangladesh. I can't think of it though. Oh man. Well, I wasn't all right. I wasn't thinking live. How's that?
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how many orange album covers. Now I'm trying to think how many orange album covers I know.
Too many.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking now, folks, to take a break now and say thanks, everybody. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm so glad we were able to all be here and talk about George a bit. And I'm really hoping, as we said early in the show, that this means the floodgates are going to open. This new deal or acquiring their dark horse catalog, everything for themselves, and deep dives into the vaults. So let's hope.
Fingers
Let's hope we.
crossed.
Hey,
Yep. Yes.
happy birthday, George, and much missed, and God bless.
Yeah.
All righty.
Here,
So
here.
thanks everybody, and I'm just gonna get going because I'm pretty beat. I did two of these today, right, one back to back. So I'm kind of like have to take a little nap now before I fall asleep on camera.
Don't do that.
You
The only
lightweight.
thing, and
Yeah, really. He's
Stop
yeah,
past 3 in the morning here.
oh, that's right. Yeah, well,
Lightweight.
but you're a night owl.
Yeah.
But if anybody out there is having problems, if anybody there has insomnia, try Extra Texture.
Oh!
That might help you out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh
Dang.
man. Well,
Thanks
thanks for putting it together, Joe.
Yep. This was
Oh
fun.
no, can't do it without people's coming here to help. So thanks everybody. Good night, all. Or good day, good morning, good night,
Good morning, Tone.
Good morning.
Morning. See you, everyone.
Adios, everybody.
Bye.